Hello, and welcome to another issue of the Numbers of Thoth, brought to you by Martin and Julia Herdman. The question we're looking into today was one post on Quora. It concerned the fate of those ancient Egyptians caught tomb robbing. So, what was the punishment for ancient Egyptians if they were caught robbing a tomb? The answer, we found, rather depended on who was doing the robbing. Pharaohs robbed the graves of their long-dead ancestors for treasure in much the same way the Vikings robbed the Bronze Age barrows of the Boyne Island. Caches of sarcophagi and mummies desecrated by pharaohs of the New Kingdom were found in the late 19th century. Royal cache of Deir el-Bahari is the quintessential example of a royal reburial project. Nowadays, the tomb is commonly referred to as DB 320 or TT 320, and its archaeological importance is hard to overstate. It was a great example of royal tomb robbing. In the cache, there were more than 50 royal mummies stashed together with some 6,000 funerary items, mostly shabtis and papyri. Among the mummies were the greatest pharaohs from the 17th to the 20th dynasties, including Ahmose I, Ramesses II, Ramesses III, Queen Hatshepsut, and Thutmosis III. The burial of the Old Kingdom builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, Khufu's mother's tomb was robbed just years after she was interred. Her son reburied her sarcophagus not knowing her body was missing. It had probably been removed so that the jewelry she was buried with could be recycled by thieves. The sage Ipu reflected upon the national distress which Egypt endured for nearly 2 centuries following the collapse of the Old Kingdom in these words: "Behold, the land turns round as does a potter's wheel. The robber is a possessor of riches. He has become a plunderer." It was largely for this reason that Amenhotep I commissioned the village known today as Deir el-Medina. Originally referenced in official documents as Set Ma'at or the Place of Truth, Deir el-Medina and the nearby necropolises at Thebes were supposed to solve the problem of tomb theft once and for all. The workers of the village would create the tombs and protect their creation, and, since they relied on the state for their wages and homes, they would be loyal and discreet regarding the location of the tombs and the amount of treasure to be found within. Although this solution may have worked in the early days of the community, it did not endure. Deir el-Medina was not a self-sufficient village. It had neither agricultural development nor a water supply. The community was forced to rely on monthly deliveries of supplies in payment from Thebes and daily import of water from the Nile. These supplies were largely standardized, and not luxurious, plus they did not always arrive on time. Consequently, industrious artisans developed their own businesses. It was a sort of Bronze Age black market based on their own crafts and treasure from the tombs only an hour's walk away. So, those who were supposed to protect the tombs used the same tools they had built them with to break in and rob them. The tomb robbery papyri suggest that most of the thieves were petty criminals, individuals of low or modest status as, for example, stonemasons, coppersmiths, and doorkeepers, lured by the prospect of instant riches. The audacity of the thieves of Thebes suggests they had inside help in robbing tombs and funerary temples. Poorly paid officials and guards could be easily bribed. Most thieves were tradesmen who could melt down gold and silver or refashion an item to make it new again. In an economy that ran on metal by weight and barter, it was easy to cut jewelry up and redeem its value for something else. The scale of robbery suggests that the chances of being caught were pretty low. However, if caught, the robber would be taught a lesson. The Nori decree of Seti I specifies many punishments for various forms of theft, such as beating, the opening of wounds, forced labor and amputation of nose and ears. Take for instance, the punishment for taking an animal belonging to the god's estate. Punishment shall be done to him by cutting off his nose and his ears, he being put as a cultivator in the foundation, and putting his wife and his children as serfs of the steward of this estate. So, the whole family got punished. Officials caught cheating could get a beating of 200 lashes and 5 piercings. Many people think that there must have been an automatic death sentence for tomb robbing, but that was not always the case. The only crimes which we know for certain to have been punishable by death are high treason and stealing from the royal tombs, presumably because these were crimes against the pharaoh himself. Murderers would, most likely, also be executed, although there are no extant legal texts which involve murder. And death sentences are also mentioned occasionally in crimes which were committed against temples. But there would not necessarily be a death sentence for people caught robbing the tomb of a royal official or a wealthy merchant. No doubt there was a thriving black market for trinkets filched from unguarded graves throughout the whole pharaonic period. Every self-respecting Egyptian wanted a good burial, and a charm or two to help them reach the afterlife. And so there was always a brisk trade in reused gold and other precious metals. In acknowledgement of the evil done in those days by kings and princes who took advantage of the turmoil to pillage the tombs of their ancestors, a subdued king in that troubled time advised his son, "Do not despoil the monument of another, but quarry stone in Torah. Do not build your tomb out of the ruins, using what had been made for what is to be made." In spite of their best efforts, the authorities of ancient Egypt were never able to resolve the problem of tomb robbing. Their best effort, Deir el-Medina, started to fail even before the decline of the New Kingdom, and their earlier efforts were clearly unsuccessful. Otherwise, there would have been no reason to construct the new village, and the new necropolises we call the Valley of the Kings today. The truth is, the ancient Egyptians robbed the tombs of the wealthy for many of the same reasons the poor rob the wealthy today. Excitement, money, and a kind of empowerment that says up yours to authority. All of the threats and promises of punishment in the afterlife did not deter anyone because the chances of being caught were slim. So, when kings robbed their ancestors or the leaders of one dynasty robbed the ancestors of their rivals, it was all part of their royal privilege, but when poor people were caught in flagrante delicto, they got punished. In the words of the old music hall song, "It's the same the whole world over. It's the poor what gets the blame. It's the rich what gets the pleasure. Isn't it a blooming shame?" If you have enjoyed today's episode and want to find out more about the amazing world of the ancient Egyptians, please subscribe and hit the like button. That way you'll never miss another episode and it will help more people see this video on YouTube. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you next time for another deep dive into the world of ancient Egypt. Until then, goodbye.